Good morning, everybody. I'm going to call to order the Board of County Commissioners for June 6, 2023. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Commissioner Lane just reminded us today is the 79th anniversary of D-Day. Do we have any additions to our agenda?
I have none.
And the agenda will stand as presented. Constituent time. Would anybody like to speak to the commissioners this morning? Anybody online, Lindsay?
No, sir.
Hearing none, we'll move on to County Clerk Terry Stevenson. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners and Lobby. I have the minutes for May 16th, 2023, Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. Are there any deletions, changes?
I have none.
Look good to me. I had none either. Thank you.
Thank you. My next agenda item is board's consideration of an application for a special event permit for the North Fork chapter of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. The event will be located at Zach's Barbecue at 721 East Bridge Street in Hotchkiss on August 26th from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. This is an annual special event permit, and there have been no issues in the past. Therefore, I would recommend approval of this application.
And for the record, I'm a co-chair and the applicant for this, so I will recuse myself.
Well, I move that we approve the special event permit for the North Fork chapter of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for an event to be held at Zach's Barbecue, 721 East Bridge Street, Hotchkiss on October 26, 2023 from 5 p.m. to midnight. I thought it'd go like 2 o'clock in the morning, but not just.
Not these old guys.
Not the old guys.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
He's gonna have to step down his chair because of it, so.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Good.
Thank you. My next item is board's consideration of an application for a liquor sales room for a limited winery going from a temporary permit to a permanent for PVI LLC doing business as Painted Vineyard located at 15805 Black Ridge Road in Paonia. Again, this has been approved by the state as a temporary and now going as a permanent. I did hear from the state, and they're just waiting for our local authorization for this application. I would recommend that we go ahead and go to a permanent. There have been no issues.
I'll move that the board approve a permanent liquor sales room license for a limited winery for PVI LLC doing business as Painted Vineyard located at 15805 Black Ridge Road in Paonia.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. So done.
Thank you.
Anything else for us today, Terry?
I do not. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Commissioner business?
Karen is here for the first item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Karen.
Okay, today I have a contract from the State Health Department, CDPHE, to provide support for our public health core services. And that is for retail food, childcare facilities and schools. That's for inspections. And we receive annually a total of $15,000 to do that.
This contract's already been signed. We need to ratify this one today, gentlemen.
Okay.
I move that we ratify the chairman's signatures on the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment Core Services Task Order Contract, provide public health services as established by the State Board of Health for retail food, childcare, and schools in the amount of $15,000.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
So done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
That was easy.
Is Karen doing that next?
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next is the CBDG reimbursement, Division of Housing. In the amount requested of $10,765.06 for the period March 1, 2023 to the end of May 2023 for the chairman to sign.
Any questions on that?
I'll move that the board approve the reimbursement for housing division of the CDBG program. Have trouble with that. Period of March 1st to May 31st, 2023, in the amount of $10,765.06.
I second that.
Further discussion?
CDBG is Community Development Block Program.
Block grant.
Grant, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
So done. Kind of a short agenda this morning for commissioner business. That brings us to Lindsay in the BLCC schedule.
Alright. So we have a work session today, the county clerk and recorder. We have land use code planning with BOCC today at 3 to 5. It's 6 p.m. is a Republican Party meeting. June 12th, we have a spring flood coordination call. June 14th, I have a Western Slope Commissioners call.
What time is that?
8 o'clock.
The Commissioners call.
Yeah.
Okay, I have it 7:30. June 15th is a busy day. We have coffee with the commissioner, Mike Lane, District 1. We're gonna do a dog house on Main Street in Delta. June 15th at 6 p.m. It's our first music at the Delta County Fairgrounds. We will have Corey Woods playing. He's a blues artist out of Austin, Colorado. That's at 6 to 8 p.m. June 19th, 1:30 p.m. Delta County Spring Flooding Coordination Call.
what was that, Lindsay?
Lindsay, you might need to move your microphone over there so you can be heard.
Yeah. I'm a low talker.
I thought the flooding calls have been.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
Yeah.
take them off?
Yeah, that was decided yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. Delta County Board of County Commissioners, the third Tuesday monthly meeting, June 20th at 8:30 a.m. Board of Health meeting, June 20th, 3:30.
No, are we having Road and Bridge on the 20th, or are we going on the summer?
On the summer, so, yeah,
They won't have that.
right.
Okay.
Not really committed to what I have posted for the rest.
Tonight is the Delta County Republican meeting.
Yes. I
Yep, she got that one.
Okay. I'll be away. Unable to attend.
I'll be there.
I'm gonna try to be there.
The DA is gonna be there, I guess.
Oh, good.
Seth, Ryan, or Seth?
Good.
8:40.
Wendell,
I have the 17th as Adobe Buttes cleanup day.
Say it again, Wendell, which day?
Oh, yes, 17th. We
June
need,
17th.
That's when we go with the ATV clubs.
I've got to call into the ATV club. I haven't heard back from them yet, so hopefully we can still get something put together. If not, we might have to push it off, but I figure if nothing else, if we get out there and get some involvement, it'll help, so.
Anything else for our joint schedules, gentlemen? The 19th is a county holiday.
Federal holiday.
Yeah.
Juneteenth.
And our first July meeting falls on Independence Day, so we move that to July 5th.
Correct.
Make sure that's on everybody's schedule. Very good. Anything else, Lindsay?
So don't be lighting off fireworks too late in the night on the 4th there, Mike, so we can get up in
Get
time.
up early, get to work.
My calendar's clear.
Maybe I need to make a motion that we keep the June 5th, the July 5th clear on the calendar.
Just a minute.
Okay, Delta County Detention Facility Population Count Report for Monday, May 29th. Male inmates 20, county jail 27, female inmates county jail 8, male inmates Department of Corrections 3, female inmates DOC 0, for a total of 38. Average daily inmate population for May 22 through May 29 was 46.88. Seeing that our next item for the agenda this morning is for Lenore Cambria at 9:45. We will adjourn about an hour and 4 minutes. So,
Very good.
very good. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Well, good morning again, everybody. We're going to come back into session for June 6, 2023. It is our honor to recognize Lenore Cambria as the executive, the administrator for the North Fork Pool Park and Recreation District in her retirement after 8 years at the district. Welcome to you and the new administrator, Stephanie Bureau. We appreciate you guys coming down. Lenore, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Tell us the things that got accomplished out of the rec district in the 8 years you served there.
Well, one big thing was that we got our mill levy increase. And that really helped because I don't know how much longer we could have survived with a 0.8 mill levy and our mandate by the legislature that we had to take all of our minimum wage up every year to a certain point. And that meant that we had to raise everyone's rates because if we didn't, the lifeguards would soon be making less than the brand new 14-year-old swim lesson aides. And so that really has helped. And the fact that we had such good administrators before me to keep us in the black before we could get this mill levy increase really helped. We also got almost $1 million worth of grants and made 4 ball fields out on our property, which 2 softball, 2 baseball. And that took us about 3 years all total between the time that we applied for all the grants and received the grants and had those constructed. And we also have about 3.5 miles worth of single track bike trails that are also used by hikers, walkers with dogs and those type of things out on our property, and a pump track, bicycle pump track that's used by a lot of different levels of bikers. And we also, what else did we do?
The skate park
Oh.
and the tennis courts.
Yeah, we continue to maintain the skate park in Paonia and also the tennis courts. We were able to, at Apple Valley, we were able to put pickleball lines on it, and we supplied the nets for both tennis and pickleball and did the lines. We had to do a repaving of that court after a flood a few years ago. And that is repaved and hopefully won't flood this year. But, and then also we just recently supplied some pickleball equipment to the town of Crawford because a contingency of pickleball players from Crawford wanted to come and the town told them that they could have a pickleball court on the old basketball court. So they painted the lines and we furnished the equipment and they're happily playing there.
The soccer league now.
Yes, now we have taken over the Hotchkiss Youth Soccer Association because they asked us if we would do that. And part of our mission was to do programs, but we have never felt like we had the means to have a new position, which is our new program coordinator, Max Hepke. And so he took that over just this spring. And with the help of the rest of the Hotchkiss Youth Soccer, luckily, their board still helped out with trying to get refs and help him with how do you form the teams and all of that. So we've just recently taken that.
And I thank you because we now have a kitchen table again.
Yes.
Instead of full
That's
of
true.
papers and
That's true. And I mean, Esther Kuntz has done a lot for the community with not only being my predecessor, but also this Hotchkiss Youth Soccer Association for years and years, just major component to that board.
Yeah.
And so we continue to try to, we've been trying to continue to fix our ball fields from the flood we had last year. That was a flash flood that brought mud into our swimming pool and all across one of our ball fields, the worst. We're still trying to fix that up completely. But luckily we had the help of our fire department and pumped out that pool and we were up and running 10 days after that flood. It was just amazing, the help from our community for that.
well, congratulations on all you've accomplished.
Yes.
You've made a difference in the North Fork, particularly for the youth, and that's very well noted with us.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for supporting us.
Yeah.
I know that whenever we have asked for some extra funds, the commissioners have been there for our projects, our ball field projects, you know, it really makes a difference to have the support that we do throughout the county and our communities.
And Stephanie, we welcome you as the new administrator.
Thank you very much.
And that support will continue with you too.
I hope so. The grace with which I have witnessed Lenore conduct herself is evident in the reflection that she has from the people she interacts with. But I think just being here for a month, that what I've noticed is the tremendous impact the facilities have on the community and that it's beloved. The people who play baseball, it's beloved. The people who play soccer, it's beloved. And to see that continuity of services, it's very humbling. It's a lovely organization. And I just want to say personally, looking at some of the systems Esther created, you know, when you step into something and the structure and the infrastructure is in place, you just have a very smooth transition. So I'm very grateful.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you very much. With having children that utilize those facilities, it's pretty incredible. They love the bike tracks, they love the fields. It's really great and kudos. And being somebody that's dealt with youth sports a little bit, it's like herding cats. And thank you so much for that because that's a big deal. And volunteers are almost impossible to come by in that scenario. So it's incredible what you've been able to accomplish. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Our swim, you know, I'm really amazed, and people are amazed too, that they come to our swimming pool and that it's so old, from 1995, and it's still in. such good
95's not that
condition.
old.
Swimming.
Oh, okay.
You're a swimming pool. I know what you mean. Preaching to the choir there, but no, for a swimming pool, you know, a lot of facilities at that age are just falling apart, and we've just been so fortunate to have this, our maintenance facilities maintenance person, Chris Straub is just really keeping that in shape, and all those swim lessons, I mean, you get, when you have a grandpa that comes in with tears in his eyes and says, "You saved my grandson's life because he took swim lessons from you, and when his uncle's car overturned in the river, he knew what to do."
Mm.
And it was just like, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So it is a really nice asset for the community.
Very good.
We
Yeah.
all know how
Yeah.
talented Lenore is, but she's also very musically talented. And that's a treat as well, if you ever get a chance.
Yes, the Bell Creek Band will be playing this Friday. And next Thursday at Legacy Park. 6 to 8, I believe.
Mm, Very
in
good.
Hilton. So that's my band.
No, good. Well, enjoy your retirement. Thank you for all that you've done.
Yes, thank you again for all your support.
Lindsay, did you want to get a picture?
Yeah.
Could you come on?
Ooh, I'm up there. You go.
Stephanie, you too.
That's what I just.
I don't want to be either.
She deserves all the
That's all right, you're gonna.
Between all these very tall gentlemen.
Yes.
One from Facebook.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Very
Drive
much.
careful.
We will see you, we'll see you all at
Nice to
Legacy
meet you.
Park,
Yeah.
if not at the Blue Sage.
Were you selling t-shirts too?
Yeah, we'll be selling somebody else's t-shirts and somebody else's CDs. Used it in our cars, but.
Right at 10 o'clock, we start with planning. We've got 3 minutes. Let's go ahead and wait in case somebody comes online. Excuse me. Carl, would you like to get your team up here? Yes. Nobody said anything. I just. We're gonna ask people to silence their cell phones.
It's not 10 o'clock now, come on.
You guys want a picture in your head when your Esther convinced me I needed to be a soccer ref, so I was out there in stretchy pants.
Now, I didn't need that vision.
Volunteers are hard to find.
Yes, they are.
Experts are not, but volunteers are.
I've got 10 o'clock. Carl, would you welcome everybody? Let's move forward.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, the first item for planning is PLN 22-162. This is Rice. This item is continued from your May 16th meeting. The final plat that includes dedication of right-of-way, and there was some discussion about if the extent of right-of-way along Ford Creek was needed. So we went back and we consulted with the county engineer, came up with an alternative that I believe Mr. Rice would like the board to consider. So originally there was 30-foot dedication on Brimstone, 60-foot dedication along Ward Creek for about 2.63 acres of dedication. The way it is now, with the alternative would be, it's still 30-foot right of way dedication on Brimstone, but Ward Creek would be about 39 feet, plus a 20-foot access utility easement, just to keep structures, if we do need additional right of way sometime in the future. And that would be 2.048 acres of dedication. So if your board is okay with that alternative, then Mr. Rice will need to get, the plat re-signed again, and then we can get that recorded. That concludes the presentation.
Questions for Mr. Hall?
So are we trying to fit for an existing utility that's up there now?
No. I mean, you're talking about the 20-foot?
The 20-foot, yes.
County engineer felt that having that easement, if the additional right of way was required sometime in the future, then there would not be structures within that area.
Or the setback off of that?
Yeah, so to set it back off of the right of way.
What do you think, Don?
I just, I've been through I've looked on the map. I even took a drive up there trying to put it all in my head why we need that much right away. And it just seems like we're pushing a little harder here than we probably need to, especially in that section. For a stretch of road that's, really should never be classified as a major arterial at all.
From what I understand, to the north and south, it's only about 60-foot right of way total. And that's where the 40 feet comes in, because the property line is actually kind of 10 foot off of the center of the road.
Okay. So the extra is because it's not centered on the road in that one stretch.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Rice, you okay with the way this is laid out here?
Yeah, I don't foresee anything being built in there. There's a big gully that goes down part of it, and then we wouldn't have any interest in putting any structures in that area.
Okay.
Engineering, good with this one?
Yes, this is the recommendation that came from engineering.
Okay, so it takes it from 2.63 to 2.04 acres then.
Correct.
Okay.
Mike, anything?
Nope.
Okay.
What would be the will of the board?
Well, move that the board approve PLN 22-162 Rice, accepting right of way to Delta County for Ward Creek Road and Brimstone Road of 2.04 acres.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Rice.
Appreciate you. Have a good day.
And good luck. I'm glad you worked with us on this.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, once the signatures are done, then we will get your signature last.
Very good.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I have Mr. Gray on speakerphone. He wasn't able to get audio through Zoom, so. That's what I'll work on.
So this next item, Mr. Chair, PLN 22024 Gray. There's two components to it. One is a rezone for the southern 40+ acres, and then a 6-lot subdivision that would be done in 2 phases. Next little delay, but, so this is the vicinity map. It's on the north side of U Trail Road. Surface Creek is off to the right, to the east. There are two 60-foot easements, the yellow, yellow lines, dash lines into the property. The property does not have frontage itself on U Trail Road. The access is through those two access easements. So kind of just to go walk through some of the history here, back in 2020, there was a preliminary plat that was submitted prior to the land use code. It was for 5 lots plus the remainder, the upper part of the property. And this is how it was configured. We're showing Reed Ditch there because that's kind of a point of that we want you to kind of keep a view of as we go through the history here. Next slide. The subdivision in 2020 was expired. Then they came in instead with a boundary line adjustment. They sold a couple pieces of the property to neighbors, did a boundary line adjustment. One was about 7.4 acres, and then one was 2 acres. This is the existing zoning map. I outlined the area that has not been adjusted to reflect the boundary line adjustment yet. But you can see the kind of the transition from the A5 zone to the A20, which is what this property is currently zoned. And then the darker green above is A35. So back in March of 2022, this was a sketch plan that was submitted, highlighting lot 1 there in the yellow. You can see the line there in red follows the Reed Ditch. Again, that's why we're trying to highlight the Reed Ditch as a vantage point. And you can see the area of kind of the irrigated area just north of that Reed Ditch. So as it is today, the preliminary plat for phase 1 would create lot 1 in the red, and then the remaining in purple would be lot 2 initially. The access that would be extended up from where it currently terminates, where it comes into the property. You can kind of see there's a blue asterisk right where the access road comes into the property, where there's an existing fire hydrant. Next slide. So part of the recommendation from the Planning Commission is to adjust lot 1. So we wanted to do kind of blow that up so you could see that in a little more detail. The green area above, as you can see, part of that it extends into the irrigated ag area. This was part of the reason. This was the reason for recommending adjusting the line would be just either along or right around the Reed Ditch alignment, because the policies in the master plan and the land use code are to try to minimize impact to the irrigated ag lands. If your board doesn't have a problem with that small area being impacted by this, there'd be no irrigation shares going to lot 1. It would remain with lot 2. But the applicant has a potential buyer who would like to have that additional area. They want to have equestrian, they'd like to have a buffer, they'd like to have access to that kind of the green area to the left where there's a vantage point, kind of like a picnic area type of situation. And that potential buyer is here today if she has anything to add to that. But so the recommendation was to adjust that line to not impact the irrigated ag land. So that's one of the things for your board to consider. So then with phase 2, it creates lots 3, 4, 5, and 6. Lot 2 then gets smaller. And at this point, the fire department has recommended installing a fire hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac, which is, there's a green asterisk kind of up at the top of that circle, as well as an emergency access. That secondary yellow line, it would be an emergency access because of the length of the driveway. Fire department wanted to have that secondary access. From U Trail to the end of the cul-de-sac is about 1,800 feet. So in the land use code, the rezoning has standards. There are two findings. One, resource protection, unless you waive that requirement. So level protection for natural resources such as agriculture. Plan consistency in public facilities with the master plan. Land use, it is consistent with that. There are adequate public facilities. There's a water line that runs through there. They'd be able to get water taps through Upper Surface Creek by transferring water shares, about 2.5 shares per tap. And they have plenty of water to do that. And then there's one of 3 criteria that must be met for rezoning. Either plan implementation, character of the area, or increasing land inventory. Planning Commission felt alternative number 2 fit because this was, with the A5, it's kind of continuation of the way U-Trail has developed in this area. Next slide. So from a wildfire perspective, the wildfire map doesn't show it as being a high risk, but the Planning Commission had a conversation around this and it feeling because of the chaparral, it actually should be identified as a higher risk, as well as when the fire department reviewed it, that's how they were looking at it as kind of a high fire hazard area as you get further up the hill. Next slide. So the fire agency comments, they wanted the fire hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac. That would not be triggered until phase 2. And then they recommended that the development follow guidelines, the West Region Wildfire Council, which is kind of basically Community Wildfire Protection Plan, CWPP. Staff felt that we could put a plat note on there that as you develop, just to be aware of those standards. Again, we don't have building codes, we don't have fire codes, we don't have those standards. It's just to have people think about that when they're developing these properties. Next slide.
That is in the WUI.
Yes, yes, sir. So here, this is where the existing fire hydrants are. There's kind of the red squares. One, as I mentioned, is where right now the road terminates into the subject property. The new fire hydrant would be about 1,500 feet from that, further up the road. There is another one off of U-Trail Road, but there isn't access into where the new properties would be created. We looked at the wildlife map again for looking at the resource impacts. There's no critical habitat on this. Of course, there's deer migration and those type of animals, but not as far as a sensitive species. As I mentioned, the irrigation and the waters was something, again, Planning Commission also really looked at closely. The property has 80 shares. As I mentioned, 2.5 shares per tap. They still would end up with 67.5 shares for lot 2 remaining as well, but still have enough taps for all of the lots being created. The applicant has asked to not require a water tap to lot 2 at this point. They're not planning development of that. Typically with the final plat, we would have water taps to each of the properties, access to each of the properties, electricity to each of the properties. In this case, because of the size of the remainder piece, we felt having a plat note that says before you develop, you have to have a water tap and have that on the plat note. Next slide. So the rezone, we'd be cleaning up, as I mentioned, where the boundary line adjustment was made to change that from A20 to A5. That's the orange spaces on here. And then the rest of it would be, the red would change from A20 to A5 if you approve the rezoning. The rezoning would occur at the time that the final plat comes in. So the first one with lot 1, that would get rezoned when that final plat is done. And then for plots 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be done when the phase 2 plat is done. This is again kind of showing the zoning map in the area that would change from A20 to A5 if you approve this project. So with that, the recommendations are to find that the rezoning standards are met, rezone the southern 43 acres from A20 to A5, and conditionally approve the preliminary plat for 6-lot subdivision subject to 12 conditions. Again, I will just reiterate, one of those conditions is adjusting lot 1 to remove the area that's in the irrigated ag. If you're okay with the way the plat has been proposed, then that condition would be amended to not require the adjustment. And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions.
Well done, Mr. Mayor.
Questions?
Yes,
Thank you. On the auxiliary or emergency access out, do we have anything in the plat notes saying that that will be kept free and clear of any obstructions?
We don't specifically, I believe one of the conditions does speak to that the county engineer wouldn't be looking at that, but we can make sure that there's a plat note on there.
Can we go back to that slide, please?
I think we'll show the phase 2.
Thank you. Because I also had a question on that. What does that actually look like? Is it irrigated ground? We've had questions on that on previous emergency access.
What does it look like now, today?
What will it look like when that cul-de-sac is done? Because it's running through several different parcels there.
Well, the initial, my understanding from county engineering is that the initial, when phase 1 is done for lot 1, it would basically be a rural driveway. But by adding the additional lots, when you have 3 or more lots, then it needs to meet the local road standards. As far as the emergency access, my understanding is that the road standards do not include standards for emergency access. But again, so what we've been looking at is it being like a rural driveway kind of condition.
Okay. And I would agree with Mr. Supis on the plat note there.
Okay.
I get concerned with, some of that area is just natural vegetation. And something, trees get grown up in there or whatever, and then suddenly it's no longer an emergency access. It's not passable.
Okay.
Commissioner Lane, any questions, comments?
No, I was going to bring up the emergency access also. But no, that's-
And I personally have no problem with the plat as listed. I don't think I think the planning commission's recommendation is probably a little bit onerous on this, so I think we can allow for that
Without
extended.
adjusting lot 1.
Right.
Does Mr. Gray on the phone have anything?
Mr. Gray, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm kind of listening to what's being said, and I think everything is in line with our plan for this property. And just a general comment that everything regarding either the rezone or the phased development is in keeping with our intent to keep stewardship of this land as it is. It is primarily agriculture. It will, and that is that large agriculture area in the center. That will continue to be done that way. So the properties that are going to be subdivided into the phase 2 are lightly wooded areas. They're not currently used in agriculture. Lot 1 is going to continue to allow that to happen. That small area that is going to be included in lot 1 is about less than an acre out of the existing 10 acres, which is that area, the central area, which is currently used to cultivate hay. So that's, in a way, that's the least productive part of that 10 acres because of the way the flow of the drainage ditch comes south towards it. So so we think that with between the new owner and our existing operations, it's a good blend. It really meets all of the criteria that we want to see going forward with this property development.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, commissioners?
We have folks here that don't know if you.
If you'd like to speak, please come forward.
I'm the
purchaser of Lot 1, and I was hoping that you would.
Could you come forward and introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name is Victoria Mangano, and I'm the purchaser of Lot 1. And I'm pleased to hear that you have approved to leave it the way Mr. Gray has proposed it, and that would be my preference also, of course. So I'm wondering what happens next.
We have to vote on this.
Okay,
That would be the next step,
all right, thank you.
or not, we'll see.
Ben, sounds like you gotta write a check.
Yeah, that's the bad part.
But nothing.
And your resolution.
Anybody else? Would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
I think there is. Isn't there a resolution? in
There is.
There is.
Okay.
Mr. We will need to amend that resolution for the condition, if that's what I meant, from what I've heard so far, is amending conditions as well as, you know.
To include a plat note for the emergency access road.
Right. Yeah. And to remove adjusting Lot 1, if I'm, depending on what your motion
Yes.
is, but those would be a couple of amendments that I've heard so far.
Okay. So can we make a motion can we approve the resolution as amended and then sign later? Mr. Bear?
My apologies, what's the question?
We're gonna have to amend the resolution. Can we approve the resolution as amended and then
How extensive is the amendment?
minor amendments?
It would be amending condition number 1 to remove the requirement to revise Lot 1 and add condition 12 for a plat note relative to maintenance of the emergency access.
I think if the motion indicates that, then the resolution can be cleaned up and signed.
12, okay. Then I'll move that the board approve resolution number 2023-R-12, approving PLN 2022-024 Gray to amend the Delta County Land Use Code rezoning the southern 43+ acres from agricultural A20 to agricultural A5, and to approve preliminary plat to subdivide 120 acres into 6 residential lots of at least 5 acres. The project's located north of Ute Trail between 2375 Road and Surface Creek Road in Cedar Ridge. Also to include adjustments to the resolution requiring plat notes for emergency egress road or path. I guess it's not technically a road. Driveway, and also to maintain Lot 1 boundary line as platted by Mr. Gray.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So done.
That concludes planning.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Hall. Thank you. Planning Department. When would you have that resolution ready for signature?
I'll have it done today. While I'm here.
Because you got us all together this afternoon.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Congratulations, Mr. Gray.
Okay.
We'll take a brief recess, come back at 10:30 for county attorney time with Mr. John Barrett.
Joe. I've had
Good morning, everybody, again. Now we're back in session with Attorney John Barrett.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I have 3 items for the board's consideration this morning under regular session, and then following that, 1 item for executive session. The first item under regular session will be the board's consideration of a license agreement regarding the property at 211 West 6th Street, which is the old library building, right here. And this is a license agreement between the city of Delta and Delta County. Generally, this permits Delta County to kind of occupy and use and start making some headway regarding that building prior to the official transfer of deeds between the city of Delta and the Delta County in regard to the IGA that was discussed, a year ago.
Yes.
Or something behind.
Plus-
Commissioner Supis is going to have some more detail, I think.
Yeah, so basically, as you remember, we weren't able to get the IGA completed because the city of Delta had to, they have to give that property through ordinance, which takes a month and a half period at least. So that will not be done until the end of the month. This gives us the ability to begin permitting and start doing some preliminary construction work on the property. So it just gives us an extra few weeks to get moving on this project. And then as part of that agreement, then we, at item number 2 under Mr. Bear's stuff, we have to sign over the deed to the new library. And that's part of this licensing agreement. But this gives us a head start. We need to get things moving. So.
The only correction, Commissioner Supis, I think you used the term, they weren't able to do the IGA. I think you just misspoke. The IGA has been in place for a long time.
Right.
They have not been able to, or they're waiting for their ordinance process in order for the city of Delta to sign the deed. So that we can exchange.
Right, and technically the IGA called for it as soon as the CO was done, then they signed over the deed. So, it's like I said, we're just delayed a little bit, so, but this gets things moving a little quicker.
And the intent, I think, with the license agreement, at least the information that we have at this point is, this is likely only to be in place for a few weeks.
It
Until,
sunsets.
yeah,
Well-
as soon as the deeds get exchanged, there's no it's void.
And time is of the essence.
Yes.
Any questions, Commissioner?
Well, I move that we enter into a license agreement and authorize the chair to sign between the city of Delta and Delta County concerning the old library building.
Second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Terry, on this particular document that was prepared by the city, it doesn't look like there's a line for your attestation.
Yeah, that's scary.
All right, thank you. The second item is of course a related item. It's under the board's consideration of the special warranty deed regarding the property located at 124 East 6th Street. This is the Old City Market / Old Chaco / New Library building across Main Street here. This is between Delta County and the city of Delta. This is kind of our portion, Delta County's portion of signing over that building to the city of Delta.
Questions?
And as required by the IGA, that building is complete. The CO was received here a few weeks ago. And the final little touch-ups, punch list touch-ups have been completed. Library has moved their stuff in. They have not got it set up yet, but they have got all their stuff moved in. And they were setting up shelves last week when I went through there, so anxious to see it utilized.
And you put a lot of work in that, and thank you for all the work.
There was a few hours in that, yes.
A lot of milestones.
But it's gonna be a good thing. I'm excited to see it get used. So.
Go ahead.
I will move that the board authorize the chairman to sign a special warranty deed regarding the property located at 124 East 6th Street, transferring property from Delta County to the city of Delta.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So done.
Just an update on that library also, the library district is waiting for a number of shelves that have been donated from other libraries. And they are right now hoping to have kind of a grand opening of August 1st, somewhere in that time frame. So it's going to take them a little bit to get everything set up.
All right, wonderful. The last item I have for regular session business for the board is the board's consideration of an airport ground lease at Lakefield Airport. This is for hangar 335, the lessee being David Denton. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them. This is a pretty sizable hangar. I think the lease space is 72 feet in depth by 234 feet in length. So it's a pretty sizable hangar. Happy to answer any questions if you have any. This is in the 300 block. Just kind of continuing to go east on that development.
Any questions,
No.
Mr. Mayor?
This will, we're losing available developable real estate out there now with this, because this is a very large hangar. So as we move forward, we may have to start considering extending out some taxiways to allow some space out here as we move forward. So.
What utilities will be available?
So we are hopefully next week, we're going to be able to get a RFP out for our utility upgrade out there, which will run water and sewer after many years of negotiations with the city of Delta. In fact, that was within the first few months I was elected. That was one of the first meetings we had with the city of Delta and started that process. And we're finally now 6.5 years later getting there. But yes, we will have water and sewer running up that access road to the north of that hangar, and they will have the ability for water and sewer. So, and electric's out there already.
Well, I move that we approve the airport ground lease between the county of Delta and lessor David W. Denton for the hangar lease there and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Because the exhibits.
We read it already.
Yes, I missed that.
Having completed the regular session business, Mr. Bear, you ready?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Chair. Next, I have under executive session, advice of counsel pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246402 sub 4 sub B. This would be discussion and advice regarding application of ordinance 2022-01, which is an ordinance prohibiting the accumulation of rubbish and junk within Delta County. I recommend that the board go into executive session, likely adjourn after the executive session. I'll remind everyone present, the discussion of this legal question and the advice received from counsel constitute a privileged attorney-client communication. No, therefore, no record or electronic recording is required to be kept. I remind the board and all present in the executive session to limit your discussion to the applicable legal question.
Well, I'll move that the board go into executive session under the advice of counsel, subsection 24-6-402 sub 4 sub B of the Colorado Revised Statutes. Present in this executive session will be the three commissioners, Terry Stevenson, Lindsay Mitchell, Everett Neal, Brad Lewis, Carl Holm, John Bear, and Robbie LaValle. And we will adjourn immediately following.
And Greg from the Health Department, hopefully will join us. I sent him an email and,
And Greg Randowski, if he does join.
Let's get him in person.
okay.
But, yeah. So, if he does join, yes,
Okay, I second that.
yes.
Yes,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, you want me to go